Look at the men around you. Look at yourself in the mirror. See the hard truth right now. Most men aren't really men at all. They're overgrown boys wearing men's clothes, living in men's bodies, but running from one thing that actually creates a man. And that's a willingness to face pain. Right? Every ancient culture understood something that we have long forgotten. A boy becomes a man through initiation, through fire. The Spartans had the Argoge, the indigenous tribes had the Vision Quest, warriors, across all history faced trials that broke them down and rebuilt them stronger. But today, we've created a world where comfort is king, where avoiding pain is the goal, where we numb ourselves with endless distractions, TikTok, Facebook, alcohol, drugs, porn, whatever it is, rather than face what's deep inside of us. And we wonder why we feel empty, directionless, weak, right? And here's what no one else will tell you. The pain that you're running from is exactly what will set you free. See that rejection you fear? That will give you the confidence you desire. The failure that you're avoiding, that will build that resilience within. And the emotions that you're suppressing, they will become your ultimate power. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to stop living as a boy, avoiding pain, and finally become the warrior who uses pain as fuel. Right? Not through motivation rah-rah, not through hacks or shortcuts, through a proven transformational process that I live myself, and I've seen it change many men's lives. Right? Because most men watching this right now are living half a life. Right? You have achievements, maybe even success, but something's missing. You know that you're capable of more, but something invisible is holding you back. And that was me, right? And I've been very open about my story, but it might surprise you because I had everything: physical strength, a successful career, respect, but inside, I was broken. Right? My journey began at 15 when I discovered alcohol. At first, I thought I had arrived. Right? It gave me everything that I was missing: the confidence, the reputation. And that first drink wasn't just an alcoholic drink. It was an escape. It was an escape from who I really was. Right? Because I was so uncomfortable with my own skin. And it gave me the freedom from the discomfort of being myself, from feeling inadequate, insecure, low self-confidence. Right? And that was the pain, that I sat with for so long. And what I didn't realize then in that moment was my emotional growth stopped chronologically. I kept aging, but emotionally, I remained that scared, little frightened 15-year-old boy. Right? And when I suffered a devastating injury years later, when I was 28, when I've spoke about this, when I was paralyzed, everyone thought that might be my wake-up call. But it wasn't. Instead, I doubled down on numbing myself. Now, we just added painkillers to the mix because I was getting them from the doctors. So I had alcohol, painkillers, distractions, anything to avoid feeling what was going on inside. Right? And then after my last rehab visit in my late 30s, I had everyone fooled. Right? Except myself. Right? I tried everything to change. Rehabs, therapy, meditation, self-help books. I could talk the talk about healing. But nothing shifted because I was still running from me, the core truth. I was terrified to face my own pain. And my breakthrough didn't happen in some treatment centre or a fancy retreat. It happened when I was in a new low, on my own, in my barber shop, when I finally surrendered to what I had been running from for what seemed like my whole life. Right? That day, I can only describe it as a spiritual awakening. My body was overtaken by this powerful energy that I had never felt before. And I've spoke about this in the past. I just started crying. Right? But these tears weren't tears of sadness. It was tears of relief. It was like everything that I had been suppressing for all those years was finally being released. And it went on for, I don't even know how long, but it was just tears upon tears and I was crying. And up until that point, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything spiritual or mystical. But when I heard a voice inside my head telling me that everything's going to be okay, like Lachlan, your life is going to be okay, that all changed. Because I know for sure that was not my voice. That was a voice of something divine. And at that moment, I dropped to my knees and I just said, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And that was the first time. that I ever truly believed that something greater than me existed. Okay, and from that moment on, my life transformed. It was like this old version of me had left, and this new version had just stepped into my body. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and the desire to drink, to numb, to escape my reality, it all left that day. I haven't taken a drink or a drug since, and for the first time, I was ready to truly feel what I had buried for decades. I started seeing clearly how my inability to face discomfort, my refusal to feel pain, had kept me trapped as a boy in a man's body. I was stuck because I never allowed myself to actually grow up. See, true maturity isn't about age. It's about being willing to confront the uncomfortable truths inside yourself and then dealing with them head on. So I'd spent my entire adult life avoiding that exactly. Removing the alcohol and the drugs from my life, that gave me the opportunity to face what I had been running from my whole life. And let me tell you, that was not easy, but I have never felt freedom and power like it before. Okay, and what I learned on this journey, which I'm still learning, I have not arrived, I'm still in the process. But a man who avoids pain and numbs his emotions is always going to remain a boy. He'll always stay small, reactive, insecure, and powerless. And I used to wonder why I used to connect so well with like 17, 18, 19 year olds. And I would get on better than grown men my own age. It's because I wasn't at the same maturity level as these grown men. And I had a lot of catching up to do. Right? But see the man who has the courage to face these emotions, to sit with the discomfort, to let pain teach him. That's the man who will become truly powerful. And that journey, that when I finally began it, it was it was just through the whole sheer willingness to stop running from the pain and just accept it and feel it fully without trying to numb it or escape it. And by allowing it to shape me, teach me, and most importantly, to mature me. So right now, if you're wondering why your life is just not clicking, if you feel stuck, if you feel immature, if you feel reactive, or you feel empty, then just ask yourself this. What emotions are you running from? What truths are you refusing to feel? Because true strength, real power, only emerges when you stop running from yourself and start embracing your pain and use it as your greatest teacher. Listen, your pain isn't punishment. It's actually your pathway to power. The very emotions you're running from contain the seed of your true, authentic warrior strength. And it's time for you to awaken that savage within. Right? And as I said, I was never really spiritual. But after my spiritual awakening, I went on a spiritual journey and I've learned so much about myself on that journey, especially when it comes to pain. Because when you suppress your pain, you're rejecting a crucial part of your spiritual growth. Because pain was never designed to be punishment. It's a teacher, a gateway to deeper self awareness. And for years, I believed spirituality was about love and light and feeling good all the time, being peaceful rainbows and unicorns and cloud nine and enlightened. Right? But I was so wrong because see, real spiritual growth, that is not comfortable. It happens through confronting your shadows, your wounds, and those demons head on. And in fact, if you look at almost any spiritual tradition, they emphasize that true awakening begins in the darkness. Right? Every spiritual tradition contains the same hidden truth. Transformation happens through darkness, not by avoiding it. Right? Buddha didn't find enlightenment through comfort. He found it facing it head on. In the Christian tradition, Christ's transformation came through the crucifixion, the ultimate embrace of pain. And native shamanic cultures, like throughout the whole world, use pain initiations specifically to break the boy self and birth the man self. Right? And that's a pattern, right? For us modern men, we have forgotten that. We don't have a rite of passage initiation. The spiritual power comes from moving toward pain, not away from it. And when I finally embraced, this spiritual lesson, I understood this and understood that my attempts to avoid pain, they were never protecting me. They were actually preventing me from becoming me, from awakening to my true potential. Because true spiritual strength isn't the absence of darkness, it's the capacity to stand firmly within it, fully in the moment, with the present, without running from it. right? And if you look at the ancient Stoics, they are the history's greatest warriors of the mind. And they understood so much about pain. Right, as I've mentioned this before, but Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So, in other words, the obstacle is the path. Right, and the Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort daily, not because they were machoist, but because they understood that facing difficult emotions builds a psychological strength just as lifting weights builds a physical strength. They recognize that boys seek constant comfort while men understand that strength comes from through resistance. When I began to apply these Stoic principles, I realized that every difficult emotion, every rejection, every failure, or every moment of uncertainty wasn't something to avoid. It was precisely what I needed to create something stronger within me. Right? And if you then you look at it psychologically, there's a clear explanation why so many men remain boys. Emotional maturity is created through facing difficult emotions, not avoiding them. So when I started drinking at age 15, I unconsciously halted my emotional maturity, right? And psychologists call this emotional stunting. Whenever we constantly numb ourselves, whether it's through substance, distraction, avoidance, you prevent the psychological growth that creates mature men. So psychologically, emotional maturity comes from learning to handle difficult feelings, learning to deal with sadness, rejection, fear, anger without running, hiding, or numbing. And if you never learn that skill, you'll stay stuck as an emotional teenager inside an adult's body, like I did up until my 30s. And there's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, right? And he explains it perfectly. When a boy suppresses his authentic emotional responses, his growth into masculine maturity becomes stunted. This is why so many men today, despite their age, still react with those boyish emotional patterns. They collapse under pressure. They avoid difficult conversations. They seek constant approval. They blame everybody else about their circumstances. These aren't character flaws, they're symptoms of emotional immaturity creating by avoiding pain rather than growing and working through it. Right? And then modern science will confirm this. And they confirm what the ancient wisdom has been teaching us for thousands of years. That your brain literally rewires itself through challenge, not comfort. So when you face difficult emotions, instead of running from them, you activate the prefrontal cortex, right? Which is a part of your brain responsible for emotional regulation, decision making, mature behavior, right? And then Dr. Andrew Huberman's research shows that emotional resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build through progressive exposure to challenging situations. Right, so every time you face discomfort instead of avoiding it, you're strengthening neural pathways that reduce reactivity, increase emotional regulation, build psychological resilience, enhance decision making under pressure. So, in other words, your brain becomes more masculine when you consistently face what's difficult. And when you connect these four perspectives, the insight becomes undeniable. Spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, neurologically, pain is the pathway to power. Right? The difference between the boy and the man is not age, knowledge, or achievement. It's the willingness to face difficult head on rather than constantly seeking instant gratification. Right? Understanding all this intellectually, isn't enough. Information without implementation is just entertainment. Right? This is about action. And the critical shift happens at the level of your identity. When you believe who you believe you are at your core, right? And for decades, I lived from the identity of a boy who needed protection from his pain. Right? My unconscious belief was I'm not strong enough to deal with these emotions. And guess what? Reality always confirms your deepest beliefs about yourself. The day everything changed wasn't when I understood more. It was when I chose a different identity. So I am a warrior who grows through challenges, not a boy who hides from them. This identity shift wasn't wishful thinking or positive affirmation. It was a bone deep decision made in a very difficult time in my life. A decision to stop running and start facing everything. I had avoided everything my whole life. Nothing was ever my fault. I blamed everybody and everything for everything that happened to me. And I had to take radical ownership of all of that. And from that day forward, I approached every uncomfortable situation differently. When fear pops up, I just move towards that shit right away. When difficult emotions surface, I feel them fully rather than suppressing them. I will go and just sit there with them and feel them. And when challenges appear, I see them as opportunities for growth rather than threats to avoid. Your transformation begins the moment you decide. Right? I'm no longer a boy seeking comfort. I am a warrior seeking growth. And this isn't about being tough or emotionless. True warriors feel deeply. They just don't let their feelings control them. And the path from a boy to a warrior isn't about eliminating pain. It's about using pain as a tool that forges you and shapes you into something much stronger. And this identity shift can happen right now, in this moment, if you're willing to make that decision. Okay, so if you are willing to make that decision and you're ready to follow a battle plan, let's get practical. Right, here's a 5-step battle plan, right, that can transform you from a boy running from pain to a warrior who's embracing it as fuel. Okay, so step number 1, conduct a pain inventory. Because see, before you can transform pain into power, you need to identify exactly what you've been avoiding. So go on, sit in silence and solitude for 30 minutes, no phone, no distractions, with pen and paper, and answer these questions with brutal honesty. Right? What emotion make me feel most uncomfortable? Is it fear, shame, anger, sadness? Right? What conversations am I avoiding because it's too difficult? Right? What challenge am I not pursuing because I fear I'm going to fail? What truth about myself am I refusing to acknowledge? And where in my life am I choosing comfort over growth? Right? This inventory isn't about self-judgment, it's about self-awareness. Right? And self-awareness is the first step to change. You can't transform what you cannot acknowledge. Okay, and then we move to step number 2. And this is where we do some emotional strength training. Because just as physical strength comes through progressive resistance, emotional strength comes through from gradually increasing your capacity to feel difficult emotions. Right, so implement this 10-minute daily practice. Right, find a quiet space, sit comfortably, back straight, close your eyes, and bring your mind to one of the most uncomfortable emotions from your inventory. Right, locate where this emotion is in your body. Feel it. Is it in your chest, your stomach, your throat? And then just consciously breathe into that area, allowing the sensation to intensify. And stay present with the discomfort. Don't try and change it. Don't try and escape it. Just sit with it. And just remind yourself, I am not this emotion. I am the awareness experiencing it. And after 5, maybe 10 minutes, open your eyes. This practice literally rewires your nervous system to handle greater emotional intensity without reactivity. And that is a hallmark of mature masculinity. Okay, number 3, the discomfort challenge. Comfort is the enemy of growth. So to accelerate your growth, your transformation, intentionally seek productive discomfort. Okay, so each week, pick one challenge from this list or create your own list, right? So 24-hour technology fast, no phone, no computer, no TV, no nothing, right? Or a cold shower for 2 minutes every single morning. Right? Have a difficult conversation with one that you've been avoiding, maybe your wife, maybe your mum, maybe your dad, maybe your best friend. Right? Ask for feedback from someone who will give you the brutal, honest truth. Right? Do a physical challenge that pushes your limits. Right? Make sure it's something that really gets you sweating and pushes you right to the max. Right? Fast from food for 24 hours. Right? Practice public speaking or share something vulnerable with someone you trust. Right? Meditate for 30 minutes straight without moving. Right? The specific challenge matters less than your commitment to facing discomfort head on. So after completing each challenge, journal about it. What emotions popped up in this challenge? What did I learn about myself? Right? How did facing this discomfort, how does it make me stronger? Right? Because this is, we're consciously reprogramming here. Right? And then we go into step number 4, which is the warrior mindset installation. Right? Because your mindset shapes your reality. So install a warrior mindset, daily through a powerful practice. So, see, as soon as you get up, before checking your phone or starting your day, stand tall with your shoulders back and look right in the mirror, right? Look directly into your eyes, right? And you can make up your own Warrior's Creed, but I'll give you one here that you can work with. I am no longer a boy seeking comfort. I am a warrior seeking growth. Today, I will move forward towards my challenges, not away from them. I will face difficult emotions without flinching. I will see obstacles as opportunities. Pain is not the enemy, it is my teacher. I am becoming stronger with every challenge I face. Speak those words with conviction. Feel them in your body. This isn't affirmation, it's a declaration. You're literally programming your identity at the neurological level. Okay? And last one, step number 5. You need accountability, a brotherhood. Okay? Because transformation is hardest alone. All the warriors throughout history have always relied on their brotherhood, right? Find or create accountability with at least one other man. Somebody you truly trust, right? Share your pain inventory with him, right? Or even join a men's group in person or online, right? Find a mentor who is living the life that you want to live, embodies that warrior energy that you're developing. Right, even create your own small accountability group with maybe 2 or 3 other men who are wanting to walk this path as well. Or work with a coach specifically focused on masculine development. Right, it's about having that accountability, meet weekly, share challenges, victories, setbacks, because this journey is about growth. And when you have other people to share that with, because the power of witnessing and being a witness cannot be overlooked. Right, this when you follow these steps, right, this isn't just theory, right? This is exactly what transformed me, because everything that I learn, everything that I teach, I have lived and I've went through myself. Right? I didn't have anyone to guide me. I was so, hard-headed that I wanted to do everything on my own. So everything that I've done, I've went out and I've hired the mentors, I've hired the coach, I've read the books, I've took the programs, I've took the courses. I've done everything on my own. I'm a multi-qualified coach in so many different areas because I wanted to understand how my brain works, how my body works. So I'm a mindset coach, a magnetic mind coach, a life coach, a spiritual coach, a personal trainer level 3, personal trainer level 4, personal trainer level 2. I'm a nutritionist, a dietist. So I've done all of these courses because I had to learn how I could live. And this is why everything that I bring to you is through me learning it. So this is not something I've read in a book. So please take on board that this can change your life if you put the action in. Because information without implementation is just entertainment. Right? Because see, the pain that you've been running from, it is not your enemy. It's just the initiation you've been waiting for. Every great man throughout history, every warrior, leader, king became great not by avoiding difficulty, but by walking directly into it. You weren't born to live in comfort. You weren't born to play it safe. You were born to stand in your power. You were born to be tested, to be forged, to be initiated. And see, the emotions you've been avoiding, the fear, the anger, the grief, the shame, they aren't weaknesses to suppress. They are raw materials to be transformed, to be alchemized into your greatest strengths. This is the ancient path of manhood. Right? The modern world has erased it. But your body knows the truth. Your spirit knows the truth. A boy becomes a man through fire, not through comfort. Right? So here's what I choose, right? I recommend that you type in the comments, I choose transformation over comfort, and share specific pain that you're ready to face head on. Make it public. Draw the line in the sand. Right? And then if you don't have a brotherhood, join this one. Subscribe. Hit the notification bells. Every episode we're diving deep into awakening the savage within. It's no fluff, no bullshit. This is just about real transformation and coming together as a band of brothers ready to rise up. We have worldwide exposure here. We can connect with men all over the world and learn about cultures, learn about growth, learn about discipline. We can learn from each other. Right? And if you know another man who's stuck, who's living as a boy instead of a man, send him this video. Not just to inspire him, but to challenge him. Because We don't need more little boys running about. We need more men who have been through the fire and emerged stronger so that they can pass on their wisdom and knowledge to the next generation. Because see the pain that they have transformed, that is power. And men who live from purpose and power, they are true warriors. Your transformation starts now, not tomorrow, not next week, this moment, with a decision to face everything you've been avoiding. Listen, I believe in you. I love you. You are not alone. We are walking together on this journey. Let's rise up. Let's unite. Let's connect. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one. I have another video here, and you can subscribe here.